Hey guys, Roxy here. I just wanted to do a video today to kind of show the different ways that I store some of my yarn and the different hooks that I personally own. A lot of I did inherit from my grandmother, so I don't always use all of them, but I just wanted to go over them just so y'all are familiar on all the different hook sizes and whatnot that there are. So let's get it started. Alright, so some of the smaller ways that you can store yarn to make it a little bit easier to conceal the yarn with this is one of them, old coffee can. The only yarn that I actually put in here are partials. A lot of the different partial pieces, like this actually has a decent amount with it. These are the little bit bigger partial pieces. There's even a partial project in here that I didn't finish before. It didn't really go the way I wanted. So, but you can store a lot of it in here. It works on a lot of the smaller rolls and a lot of your partials that you have that you want to keep to use for later, because a lot of my little pieces I use for different projects. Like I'll use them to hang stuff or, you know, stuff like that. And then you've got the creamer jar. Now you can get bigger creamer jars depending if you use the creamer, or if you know somebody who uses creamer, tell them, hey, save that jar for me, because this gets really helpful with this spout. Perfect to pull your yarn out of. Shove it back in a little bit if you don't need that much. Close it up and it actually locks right there. So, haha, doesn't open. This works for a lot of the smaller rolls. Like, sometimes you'll buy thin rolls if you don't need a lot for a big project, and those will fit in there. You may have to like shove it in there a little bit just because of the curve that it's got. Sometimes the rolls don't want to fit right, but it really is helpful, especially if you run low. And it'll help you on a lot of projects to be able to bring out. I wish I had a bigger one, because I love to use this on all my projects, but I don't have any other sizes. This is the only size my mom buys. Thanks, Mom. There's also Crown Royal bags. You can get these. I mean, I've seen people sell them at garage sales. I've seen them sold at different thrift stores. Like, these are everywhere, because people get the stuff and they don't need the bag. Like, the bag's just an extra accessory that comes with it, but they help when you crochet. This particular one holds all of my current accessories that I use a lot for crocheting. Like, it's got my pair of scissors in it, my lighter in case I need to singe any ends so they don't fray. It also holds my yarn needles, which these are very essential. I actually got this one. This is my favorite one. I got this one in some of my grandmother's stuff. I haven't been able to find one exactly like it, but they do sell these plastic ones that are a little bit cheaper, and it actually comes in, I think, a 3 or 4 pack at Walmart, and it works too. It's a little bit harder to get stuff through that little end, but it does work as a yarn needle. It works really good. But I also have my 5.75 millimeter hook right there, which my phone's not going to want to focus on that. No, it doesn't want to focus. And I've got it upside down. But 5.75 millimeter hook. I use this on a lot of my headbands. I can't even think. When I use them on my headbands, I use them on my gloves that I make. I use them on my pot holders. I use them even on my tote bags. This is my universal hook that I use for just about everything. If something calls for a 5 millimeter hook or a 6, I always end up going with the 5.75. I don't know, it just feels better. It's not too thin, it's not too thick, and I love these metal ones because they don't dig into my hand too bad, and they don't rub or pull my skin when I'm crocheting. It really depends on you, on what you like to use, but I like these hooks, which are hard to find. Literally, I don't think I've bought I bought a couple hooks, a couple of the bigger ones, but every other hook I own, I got from my grandmother, so it's kind of hard to find the ones I like. Got a 4.25 millimeter hook. This one I don't really use. Like I said, I mostly go with that 5.75. Here's my 9 millimeter hook. I use this or a 10 on a lot of my beanies. It doesn't make too big of a difference when I go between them, but it still works. They both work pretty well. But yeah, that's what I carry in this bag. I keep this one on me at all times when I go places, like if I'm traveling. That way I've got the 2 versatile hooks that I use for different projects and my yarning needles and everything. I've got all my little supplies with me right here. I mean, you can hook it onto something, store it in a bag real easy. It's awesome. Now this thing Couldn't tell you what this is. This might actually be made for hooks. I'm not sure. This is another thing that I inherited from my grandmother. And these are all the needles I inherited from her. Super thin ones. She used to make candle doilies. And I think there's a couple other yarn hooks that are smaller, or just sewing needles in there, but it's got a bunch. Like, I've got a couple that are just sized by letter. Like, these are size I, which I think these are actually close to a 5mm. I think that's what that's the closest to. There's another I. There's a lot of I's. 3.75. Here's this plastic one that has no size on it. And then you've got all your smaller ones. These are all numbered, I believe. Let me look at them. Yeah, these are numbered. This is a 00. This one's a 7. And some of the hooks, sometimes they'll have a letter and a number. That way you can tell what size it is. Sometimes they're just numbers, sometimes they're just letters. But like I said, I think the I, it reverts more towards, I think it's more towards the size of the 5mm. I use my I hooks just like I use my 5mm hook. I use it on my gloves, my headbands, and all of that. It works great for them. Now, another way I store things is a more modern day looking thing. A little tote. It holds all my, this one holds all my bigger yarns that I have. Some of them are partial rolls, some of them aren't. Here's another crown bag. Now this one I like a lot. This one has all of my partials, all of my small bits that I can't really use on a full project. I can use a lot of these later to, if I wanted to combine together to make a multicolored project. Or I can just keep them to use as hangers, or just use them to sew some stuff up together. But it's another easier way to store it. That way you're not losing all of your little bits amongst all of your big stuff, because then it gets all wrapped up, and while you're crocheting you got that all tied together because you stored it all in the same box. I like to keep the bits separated. It helps me at least. Also, I like this thing. This is another thing I inherited from my grandmother that I don't know where you can get one, but you might be able to find something similar, and the properties that are within it, you might be able to find something that has that. This big old box by Tiara, American Tourister. It's American Tourister box. It opens like this. Both the sides open the opposite direction. It opens like that. So it opens like that. This opens up. It's got a deep lid, so I could fit even more yarn in here if I wanted to. I don't really like to crowd it too much, but if I had to, I could store a lot more yarn in here. This holds about 3 rolls deep. I do have some thinner rolls in here though, so that may be why it holds so many. I'm throwing my yarn everywhere. But also what I wanted to show you in it, once I get all these pieces out, I have a ton of yarn, guys. I'm obsessed with it. Is in here. It's got these little hook areas right here, which actually this just fell out. Got my little measuring tape. I just put it in right there and it stays right there for me. But yeah, it's got a plastic bottom, so it's easy to clean out if it gets real dirty. Just put my yarn back in here. And it's a perfect little storage area. Then I've got my travel bag. Now, I would prefer a travel bag with pockets. I love pockets. I'm obsessed with having pockets in all of my bags. Makes it kind of bad because I kind of hoard bags then. But this is a little anime bag I got from a garage sale. And this one I use to hold any yarn that I can use on a current project. It's got my thin yarn. It's got my thick yarn. I even have my supply bag in this bag a lot of the time. That way I can keep it together and just take this entire bag when I go places. I actually learned that from my grandma Pat, which all this stuff I've inherited from her. But she used to always have a bag that she carried with her that had all of her yarn stuff in it, all of the things that she would put on her yarn, like all the beads she would thread into her little candle doilies that she would make. Always brought those with me. She always brought those with her, so I kind of took that from her. Another thing I wanted to go over, since I kind of went over the hooks when I went over the storage, is when you're doing a bunch of different projects, if you're trying to do a bunch of projects for a craft show, and you sometimes, if you're like me, I bounce back and forth. I'll do a headband one day, I'll do gloves another few days, and then I'll do a beanie, and then I'll jump back and forth. It started getting hard to keep up with how to do all of it, how to deal with all of them and remember them all, because when I'd switch between projects, I'd get the stitches confused on what I was using. So I take my little, I know it's weird looking, guys, I know it's weird looking, but I take my Rick and Morty book and I keep up with what stitching goes with what project, how long the chain needs to be, what rows need to be, how many rows there needs to be. I've got, the 34 chains written down for a 0 to 3 month headband, 84 for my daughter and my mother. I've got how you do the beanie written down. Now, like I said in my previous video, I have a hard time following patterns. I have a hard time remembering what all the different abbreviations stand for. Like, I'm pretty sure I could look at it and tell, but it's just easier for me to learn by watching a video, watching someone hands-on do it. So I took what I was learning from the videos, because I can pause them, which is an awesome quality of videos, and I would write down as we went in my own words something that was easier for me to follow later. So that's something that if y'all want to do, y'all can totally do. You don't have to get a weird book like me. I'm just weird. But that's another way that I keep up with a lot of things I do. If I start a new project, depending on the size, depending on the person that I'm making it for, like if I'm making something for a different age group, I'll definitely write that down so that I can keep up with it. And also it helps if you're trying to sell your stuff, because then you can let them know, this size is for this age group. This size, it's easier to keep up with if you name it and get it figured out. Another way I have my yarn stored is a little shelf behind me, but you can see a little bit of it over there, but I'm not going to take you on a room tour. Another thing is I wanted to show you, this is a little bit of an older wrapper, but generally the Red Heart, their wrapper pretty much stayed the same just about. But if you're looking, sorry, I keep moving out of the light. If you're looking at the store to try to find your yarn and you want to know how to read the little wrapper, well, down here, I gotta stay in the light, it'll tell you if it's machine washable and dryable on a lot of your yarns, or if you need to hand wash any of it. And then on it, down, where is it at? Oh, it's going to be on this side. What'll be the back side of your yarn whenever you roll it over, most of the time near the bar tag, the barcode. This is where my color is. This was for the Pink Lightning. And then you go down here and it shows you right here. Some of them have a lot easier. They have the pictures now. But it says size 8. 5mm needles, and it shows, this is just trying to do, because this one actually gives you, this one tells you all the care instructions on things, but it actually gave you a pattern, I believe, on this one. But I think I got rid of the pattern. But a lot of the yarns, this one also, they'll show you, this is how the pictures look. My phone will focus on it. Come on! They'll show you, that's for if you're doing the knitting. You need the 5mm knitting needles, 8 US. Then it shows you the hook size. And the color on this one is actually by the barcode as well. It's SH Blues, I guess. I don't know how they decide on color. But this is a really pretty yarn. And this one actually, it took me a while to learn this, so just so y'all know, if y'all get confused with how to start on your yarn, because sometimes you'll just automatically assume to unwrap it right here, no, it's a lot easier to go in one of the ends. Yeah, if you can't tell how to do it, they have pictures on the yarn. Okay, I feel stupid when I found out, but they do have pictures on the yarn that'll show you which end you can pull, where the ends are, what the ends will do when you pull on them. Like if you pull on this end and get it off of here, like that, see, unwrapped it off of there, you can just pull it out of the center, which is so helpful because it's a lot easier to keep up with your yarn that way. But I think that's all I've got. I don't have any of my newer brand yarn packages to show y'all yet, so I guess when I get some new yarn I'll have to show y'all that eventually, probably on the next project I do. But Until I find a good editing app to be able to do my project videos, to add them together, if y'all have any ideas on an app that I can use that's good, that's free, I don't have a lot of money to invest in it, to do the editing, I will definitely get y'all some project videos out here. But until then, thank you for stopping by. Like, subscribe, and share my posts, share my videos, and have an awesome day, guys.